All
Hey
right.
guys, you're live? Yeah. So hello, Level Up session 22 with amazing Maciej Kuciara. Hey guys, we are here with Maciej, Jonas, and me, Wojtek. Darek is missing. He's flying back to Poland from Holland, and he will join us after 1 hour, hopefully. So basically, we have an amazing guest today, and I think you know his work if you're already here. He's an outstanding concept artist that probably everyone heard of. He worked on the most awesome projects you could probably ever worked on, which is like the upcoming X-Men, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jupiter Ascending. So he's also well known, and I love his work from The Last of Us. Um, yes, so to check out his works, just go to kuchara.com and you'll find out all these eye candies in there. I am a huge fan of Maciej from like 5 or 6 years since I found out about digital painting because he's as well a Polish painter, a Polish citizen. So yeah, hello Maciej, nice to have you here. It's awesome that
Hey,
you had some time to join us today.
yeah,
So
thanks for having me.
yeah, awesome. So don't really know what it will be, but I bet it will be awesome. Um, so yeah, let's get the party started.
All right. Let me just quickly go to screen share thingy.
Yeah, you have activated as something else.
All right, there we go.
Okay, so just one more thing before
Done.
you start. Yeah, awesome. There's some photo bashing in there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a pretty complicated work of art. No, joking. I literally haven't no idea what I'm gonna do, but I gathered some references. So I'm probably gonna do something along these lines here. Yeah, I don't know where to start. I'm just gonna probably start doing stuff.
Guys, if you have any questions to Maciej or us, just go to YouTube chat and type them in with question before you actually ask it, so we can easily pick it up. And yeah, so just
Yeah,
go ahead.
and feel free to ask those questions anytime. I don't really have any issue with doing work and answering questions at the same time. So
Yeah, sometimes
just
that's an issue.
just want to double check if you guys have a live feed of my screen, right?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, yeah, it's
All
working
right,
just
cool.
fine.
And so one thing, sometimes we have trouble with people getting kicked while they're in Photoshop, and we found that it's usually if you use large brushes. So maybe keep your Facebook open, and if you get kicked, we will send you a message, because sometimes you don't know if you're kicked because you're watching.
All right, let me
Or if it's
quickly.
very silent, you might have been kicked. But hopefully that's not going to happen today.
Let me just have it here on the side. I'm gonna try to do something similar to what I was doing a couple of years ago. That's my first film I was working on was Fire and Ice for Robert Rodriguez. It never went to production or didn't go to production just yet. Hopefully it will after Sin City, because the work I was doing there was probably the one that I was most happy with, I would say. So those who don't know what Fire and Ice is it's a film based on Frank Frazetta work. It was a animated film. I think they did some weird way of animating. They were like tracing characters, tracing filmed characters, and then using that as a base of animation. It was, I think, 84 when they released it. But basically, the idea was to come up with, obviously, just ideas for the locations. And I didn't have much time because I was working on at Naughty Dog at the same time, so it's only evenings. And you want to do as much as you can in that time frame. So
you are doing
ended
it.
up.
Yeah, sorry. You are doing it right now. Basically, you're still working in Naughty Dog and at the same time doing your freelance work for all these big productions at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
How do you actually manage to do all of these things and you are not running out of the time? Or you probably do.
Actually, wait, I did something wrong here. Oh.
Oops.
Done. Done. That's what happens before and after the session.
So much for the off-screen secrets.
Yeah, that's usually there has to be a dick drawing. So, but anyways, no, when I was working on X-Men and most of the Jupiter production time, I was actually in Poland. But yeah, it's just you kind of have to manage time. It comes. Let's put it this way. It comes with time. The way how you manage time. Okay. You kind of have to be smart about it. You can't commit to more work that you know you can do, because that's stupid. And also.
So you basically learned over time which projects you can...
Yeah, and also another thing is, like, over time you kind of learn how to how to say it, how to become smart about the way you work. So when I was starting with film, I was like super hyped, and the first couple of drawings were like a mix of photo bashing and painting. I was actually emphasizing more, like I was trying to put more work into painting than photo bashing, and because like I want to be legit, like I was thinking in a very conservative way. But after time, I figured out that it's really a slow way of working, and especially when you start and you're fresh in the field, then you want to kind of just for yourself, you kind of want to impress your client. So in that terms, I've learned quickly that they don't care if you're using photos or not. They actually want to see good results in a sort of, you know, short time frame. And when I was working with Robert, he was actually more happy to see more ideas, even if they were rough, rather than having me spending infinite amount of time to have nicely rendered pieces. So
got it.
That's what I've learned, and
concept, right?
Yeah. And once I've learned that, it was just, you know, it went pretty straightforward from there.
That's an interesting point that you bring up there. We were actually talking about it last week with Reed, where I said that I think that what separates a lot of professionals, or what sort of, you know, can guarantee you a lot of success as a professional, is being very versatile in your workflow. And if you know a lot of different techniques, if you know 3D, if you have 3D skills and painting skills and photo bashing skills, you will learn what to use when. Because, like you said, clients don't really care about the process; they only care about the end result. And if you have like all array of things that you can do, you will just become a much, you know, better asset to a client.
Oh yeah, and it's important to emphasize here is that you have to, you know, spend some time painting before you even go into photos. You quickly learn that there's a lot of limitations of doing what I'm doing right now. When you're photo bashing, then what's happening is that you're limiting your designs to the information you have from the photos. And sometimes you get like a really good references, which is fine, and then you can use them to your advantage. But you may end up with something that you're not happy with, and if you don't know how to fix it, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So something to.
So it's like your design sense has to be stronger than the actual photos you took. You have to be like courageous enough to destroy them to the way it fits into the design, right?
Yeah, that's true, and like before I even started using photos in my work, I've spent quite a substantial amount of time painting. Matter of fact, like back in 2005, I started at Crytek, and I worked with them on several projects, but the biggest one was the Crisis. And most of the artwork I was doing for that project was actually painted until I've actually learned how to use photos to my advantage. But I was spending most of the time painting, and the work was slower. But I've learned a lot of things that way, and yeah.
Yeah, so you're basically saying that people who don't have a lot of experience should maybe not try to jump ahead of themselves and learn like the fundamental stuff first before they get into more advanced.
Yeah. Let's just look at what we have here. Just to quickly, so you guys understand what I'm doing is I'm gonna do some kind of volcanic environment with some elements in it. Some fantasy or whatever structures, maybe some abandoned shit. We'll figure it out later on. But yeah, like going back to Rodriguez and Fire and Ice. I don't want to spoil too many beans there. I mean, whoever watched the film know what's there. So. And can imagine what I was working on. But I want to do something in a similar vibe to that film here. So maybe I'll try to get the colors Frazetta-esque, and then we can put some maybe like a character or something in the environment.
Cool.
We have some questions coming in.
Sure.
We have some stupid questions and we have some interesting questions. So, let's pick an interesting one. What kind of mindset should a successful concept artist have? Also, they say that anyone can learn to draw good, but do you think that anyone can become a concept artist?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's really a muscle memory. What are you doing? Like with any job or any hobby or whatever, it's a skill that you have to acquire, and it's the amount of time you spend that will actually determine how good you are. I believe that obviously there are things to take into consideration, such as genetic predispositions, where maybe your brain is functioning in a way that you're learning how to paint or make decisions faster. But I don't think there's anything in any of us that would stop us from doing from becoming a concept artist. People used to say that in order to play basketball, you have to be tall, which is not it. Which is true. The taller you are, the better chances you're gonna be a star. But there are so many basketball players that are actually pretty short. They have a different role on the playing field, but they still can do it, right?
Yep.
So it's just the time you spend and amount of work you're gonna put into it. They'll tell you if you're gonna be good or not. There's just this notion that everything comes easy, and it's not. You have to spend a lot of time in order to get there. It's a muscle memory, really. This is how you learn painting, like doing those, making those decisions, those paint strokes, and all that is just muscle memory, like with everything. So that's how I view it, and all the great artists that I know, all of them are workaholics. I think every single one of them had at least a long period of time where they spent 14, 16 hours on average just painting, regardless if it's for client or not. Just straight painting every day, including weekends, having absolutely no life, just painting.
Yeah, it's funny that you're telling that, because I have watched recently 2 documentaries, one about Frank Frazetta and second one about Mobius, and it was really funny that they really skipped tons of time in their lives on these documentaries. Just summing up in one sentence, they worked hard for 10 years and then they have a career, right? So they were drawing basically for 10 years, but in these documentaries it wasn't really stressed enough that they really put that huge amount of time into their skills, which is just crazy. 10 years, it's a big amount of time you have to put in to be really successful, which is necessary.
Wasn't that Beatles, before they became crazy good, they were like playing in bars for I don't know how many years? They're like every night in this one single bar or bars around the town, just fucking playing for pennies. And no one knew who they are, and that's how they learned. That's how they became good. That's where the synergy between them grew, and that's how they learned how to use instruments in the in the proper way and all that. It's just time they spent getting
People
there.
crazy enough to put like their whole lives into it. These are making.
There was this one video that Mike Nash posted on Facebook recently, which I really like, because it talks about Leonardo da Vinci and other failed artists, really. He was, for most of his life, he was a failed artist.
I've seen those series. It's like
I think he became famous when he was like really old. That's when his first work was the first of the most famous works came into life.
Yeah, I've seen those like a couple of days ago. It said like two episodes about it, right? It's about Leonardo, the story of his failures. Yeah, that's really cool. I will try to find it and post it into the Level Up event, so you can all watch it. It's really interesting.
Okay, so look at a question. So Maciej, was there a key technique you learned that made you feel confident you were going to be a professional artist? And if so, what was it?
Nope, there is not such thing for me. When I was up until recently, actually, I never considered myself as a professional artist. More like a craftsman. And I wasn't looking into looking at myself as like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'm pro right now. It's never like that. It's always you always kind of learn new things on the way, and you figure out pretty quickly that you can't settle for something that you're comfortable with, because in a matter of weeks or months, there's going to be someone who will just outpace you. The thing is, back in the days when I was starting to work, and when I was starting to paint and learning, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Level Up, we didn't have so many schools and around the world. We didn't have millions of tutorials and works available for everyone.
Yeah.
We only had one or two forums where you could post your work and hope that you're gonna get good feedback. And if you were lucky enough to be in a country where they had good art school, then you would learn it from there. And matter of fact, there wasn't that many entertainment industry oriented schools. Even like 8 years ago, there was barely any school like that, apart from maybe Los Angeles area. So learning curve for artists like me and guys who started in early 2000 was longer, and I could settle myself and say, I've worked in the industry for 6 years, and I think I paid my dues, and I can, call myself a professional. But 2010, 2011 is the year where students have access to pretty much everything you have access to right now, and the learning curve is way, way faster.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden, you have so many artists that can create and render images like really nicely, and you have tons of really awesome works. Mm-hmm. So then you just question yourself, fuck, I kind of have to step up and work a little extra, because I can do that and that amount of work, but this young guy who's like 8 years younger than me, he'll do it 5-6 times faster. And
but do you feel that that's actually a legitimate threat once you're sort of established in the industry? Because I feel like, in my personal experience, I feel like once you have a few connections and you're a bit, settled in the industry, and you know some people and you've worked on some big projects, you can, pretty much be certain that you're gonna get work no matter what. So.
True, but then again, if you look at the, say, the guild, the art directors guild, you have how many members there? 300, maybe 400. I don't know. And there's maybe 30 people from the whole bunch that actually still actively working, like from project to project.
Yeah.
And that's because you have, there's way more people that can do the job. And it's actually with the art directors guild, it's a little different than everywhere else. It's true when you have connections, when you meet this substantial amount of people on your line of work, and when you get clients that are like happy with what you're doing, it's easier. But still, it's easy to fall off from the wagon, because I remember when I was starting the work, no one was using 3D. Almost no concept artist was even considering 3D as a tool to create work.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's how many years? 6, 7 years, where just amount of 3D work that is out there, and how fast you can create works in 3D is just amazing. And look at ZBrush, for example. ZBrush is pretty fresh, pretty fresh software. And right now, when you're doing creature designs, I doubt you would break into industry without knowledge of ZBrush.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you're really fucking good, but it's way easier. Let's put it this way. It's not impossible, it's just way easier to impress everyone around you with work, especially when you're doing it in ZBrush. And it's actually faster and more fun
More
as well.
usable.
So, yeah, and also, yeah, it's like when you create 3D elements, there's a big chance that they will be used in production. Like just your work's gonna land straight in production.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed about 3D. Why production designers or art directors and stuff love working with people who can do 3D, because for them, in terms of visualization, it just gives them a lot more freedom. If you're doing 2D image and they want to rotate the camera a little bit, you basically have to start from scratch. And with 3D,
exactly,
much easier to just rotate stuff around and show different things. And yeah, I think that's really where the difference between painting and concept design or visual development where sort of a gap grows between those two. Because you can be an awesome painter, but it doesn't mean that you can work in film production or a game production or anything like that.
That's true.
So can you dive a little bit into your thought process right now? What are you thinking which you're creating right now?
What I'm thinking right now is how to make it look good, so whoever is watching will not think I'm fluke. But no, basically is I'm trying to create this kind of wasteland of pebbles and small jagged rocks, and then later on I'm probably gonna want to put some architecture, but I want to build the environment in a way that it feels a little bit alien in terms of how it presents itself, and I'm thinking that the good way to do it is with the light and by using like specific way of lighting.
It's funny because I just started an Overpaint like 10 minutes ago, and it's a very similar kind of setting. And it's
Nice.
Complete coincidence because I actually picked the image before the session started.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look.
So you're stylizing all the rock shapes right now. So do you think like about the composition of an image, how they react to each other, or do you thought about it before, or this is just your instinct?
I'm just looking at the general shape of the rocks from the reference, and I'm using that as as a guideline for whatever shapes I'm doing next. Mm-hmm. I'm not really focusing on creating something crazy. It's just trying to figure out where the light is coming from, and in this case it's just strong sort of sunlight that comes from top left right now, and then there's this totally weird looking background. The way I'm lighting it is I'm trying to convert this sunlight look to a spotlight look. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's gonna make it more interesting and more alienish, because it's not natural way of like how the light would behave. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have that lighting scenario ever.
Mm-hmm. People are saying in the chat that we're very serious today. I think it's probably No. I think they're talking about me and Wojtek, because usually we act like idiots on this show. And
we can start talking about dicks anytime if you want.
Just get into it.
Yeah. Well, you could start by making some rock formations, turn them a bit more phallic.
Oh, come on.
Get that subtext in there.
Sure. Let's do it. Let's get those alien shapes here.
Yeah. Totally, I mean. There's a question in the chat. Maciej, would you be rather Godzilla or a billionaire?
Or Kim Kardashian.
Oh
That's a hard
God!
one.
Why did you even bring it up? That's a weird question. I don't know. I would rather be a Godzilla. Fuck up shit.
So.
There you go.
Beautiful. It's a focal point.
Yeah, let's just keep it for now.
Awesome.
I think this rug is bothering me here. Let's delete it.
So you guys were working on the same projects for some time recently, right?
Yeah, it's funny because like me and Maciej haven't really talked much in the past, but we actually worked on 2 of the same films, and I saw a lot of it when I was on Jupiter. I saw a lot of his work come in, and when he's able to release it, which will be this summer, I guess, you guys are gonna have, you're gonna wet your pants because there's some fucking amazing stuff that Maciej did for Jupiter. He was lucky enough to do some really nice keyframes and some. I think you did a lot of designs that didn't make it into the film, but that still really awesome. So yeah, I think it will just be cool to share that stuff.
Well, thanks for good words first. I don't flatter myself with the work I'm doing too much because that's a really bad habit to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a crazy project. I was working with John Gaeta at the time, and he was a VFX designer or supervisor on Matrix, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure about that title because it's a bit of an ambiguous sort of thing.
But anyways, he was.
I guess so.
He was I think he was the slow-mo bullet fucking 360 guy. Yeah. He's an interesting character. Probably one of the most interesting guys I've ever worked with because the way I was getting feedback and the way I had to approach the work through that feedback was very unorthodox, I would say, compared to pretty much any other project I've been working on. So
I would say working with the Wachowskis is very unorthodox in general because they're all about creativity and art, and they have a very different approach. And I don't know if it's very in sync with the way that Hollywood works because I don't really think from meeting them that they really fit in the Hollywood scene. Like they would be much better off not having restrictions upon them from studios and stuff because they just have so many ideas and so many things that they want to tell. But the big studios are always trying to get everything into their sort of safe zone because they want to sell the movies. Yeah. And it's hard to combine these things. It's really challenging to combine those things. But yeah,
that's true.
They're a cool bunch to work with, definitely, and they all have great ideas. Okay.
To remove that little penis from there was a little bit distracting.
Hey, leave some fun for the girls who watch Level Up, man. So maybe if you want, I can just talk about my overpainting a little bit. So I can just maybe switch the screen to mine for a few minutes and show my first overpaint because I think I'm pretty much done. But let me first find out the artist of this painting because I've really shot myself in the foot the last 10 episodes by never remembering who the original artist is, and now some of our really nice people in the group have actually gone back, in the group. Like, Facebook has a terrible way of navigating if you want to go to the past. On your personal page it works fine because you have like a timeline, but groups don't have timelines, so if you want to find something from a few months ago and you have like hundreds of people posting stuff every day, you basically spend like 2 hours just scrolling down. So let me just find quickly the artist. Okay, there we go. Patrick Hall. Right, so I'm just going to switch the screen. Okay. So this is a work by Patrick Hall, I think, if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to. Sweden. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. Hall or Hill or something like that. And it's a really cool sort of grimy-looking skull on a piece of dirty soil. It's very, very brown and very grim-looking. And I quite liked it. But the thing that was a bit weird to me, maybe it's because it wasn't finished, is that you just have this massive brown area on top, and I don't really know, is it a wall or what is it? I don't think it's a wall because it feels like it's somewhere in a landscape, because there's like, you know, soil and some plants and stuff. So basically, I just wanted to extend that, and I thought the lighting could use a bit of work as well. So here's my quick overpaint. Where I've basically added a sky in the background, added an extra light source, and added in some, you know, extension of the scene, trying to get a little bit more depth and perspective in there, although it's not 100% correct, obviously. But yeah, so basically by adding a light source, you can add a little bit more interest into the scene, and actually create also some highlights on our skull. And I think it reads a bit better if you look in the thumbnail. Maybe this is not the mood that Patrick was going for, but you know, we tend to screw up your guys' work. That's just what we do, I guess. And I think the artist also has to look a little bit more at references of real skulls, because I feel like, I don't know what's going on with the nose. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but it looks like a koala nose to me rather than a human skull, which actually doesn't have a nose. It would be more something like this. So I've just adjusted the, you know, just looked at some reference of real skull and just adjusted the shape a little bit to resemble a real skull a little bit more. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I will post that on the group and move on to the next painting.
Awesome, man.
Okay, so I will switch the screen back to Maciej now.
So you are introducing
Yeah,
a
I'm
card here.
Not yet, just looking at refs. I pretty much changed the lighting slightly, so just
So I can see working very organically with layers and adjustment layers and stuff like that. So you basically are, it looks like you are experimenting a lot until it just looks good.
Yeah.
You don't have like a specific tight workflow for these type of images, right?
yeah, I just do whatever I feel like gonna benefit the painting. So, for example, creating a quick layer like this, it's not gonna hurt me to test it out and see if it works. Obviously, right now it looks like it doesn't, so I'm just gonna delete it. But yeah, it's just figuring out things as they go, and if something just doesn't work, then I'll delete it and start over.
Yeah. So when you are picking your photos, what do you think of the specific items you see there, specific lighting scenarios? What exactly do you think about when you are collecting your references?
I focus on light, on a general topic of what I'm about to do, and all those things at once. I just want to make sure that the photos I'm picking are going to be useful, because I think that's the hardest part to pick photos that actually going to be usable.
Mm-hmm. So what do you mean by that? Do you mean like resolution or the image quality, copyright?
Yeah, resolution and the quality of the image, the lighting, if it's gonna be if it's the same lighting or if the light direction is some weird screwed thing. I generally want to make sure that all of the lights are kind of like matching, sort of.
Yeah.
So for example, when I'm working on this piece, I would want to make sure that all the photos I'm going to be using have the same light direction, so that they don't look weird.
Out of place, yeah.
Yeah, that's something I was actually discussing with some matte painters. Is that, I mean, you can screw around with photos that have different lighting, but just finding that one photo that has that perfect lighting just can save you so many hours of screwing around, and it's ultimately always going to look better if the lighting angle just matches.
So I can see you using a match color every time you introduce new photos.
I just want to be sure that because all of the photos have different exposures and different hues and values and whatnot. I just want to be sure that the ones I'm going to be using for the painting will have similar values and similar exposure and hues and all that. So match color is like the simplest way to achieve that. I would say.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Oops.
Alright guys, if you are new to the Level Up, please subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with any news, every news we have for you. We have almost finished the website. Yeah, I have to tell it again, almost. The word. It's accurate this week. It's really accurate.
It is. We've been putting a lot of work on it. And it's funny because when you're going to see the website, you're going to be like, huh, really? That took so many weeks to complete. Yes, it did, okay? It's a lot of work. We are not coders, we're painters, so we're trying to access the other part of our brain to deal with this. And
which is like somewhere to the left. I don't know where.
But yeah, it's looking nice, and we've got a lot of stuff up there, a lot of links to free texture websites, sites with free 3D models, all the stuff is there. So I think you guys will love it, and it will really help you to steal our jobs very quickly.
I'm sure kids will love it.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. So that's one point here. Sometimes shit doesn't work out and you waste a lot of time, but that's fine. Let's put this guy in here.
Question to you, Maciej. For how long you were self-teaching yourself? Like, how long have you been just working on your skills before you actually broke into the industry?
It's an interesting question. Well, basically, I was drawing throughout my entire life. I was more like a little kid using a pencil for fun. When I started drawing to a moment, like going real serious about the work, to the moment where I actually started to make a living from work, that would probably be like 2-3 years. But again, as I was saying, it's just it never stops. It's just a constant improvement all the way up to like right now.
Yeah.
So
until you die, basically, you keep learning and keep making.
yeah, I mean, you can find work at pretty much almost any level of skill.
Mhm.
But you have to obviously know some basics, and your work has to be somewhat presentable. Um, it wasn't impossible for me to find work when I was looking hard for it back in the days. Um, but yeah, once you constantly improve and become better and better and better, then it actually it flips around, and you're not looking for work anymore. There's more work coming towards you. But in order to buy into that comfortable way of living, I would put it that way, you have to just spend a ton of hours and just make your dues. Before I even got into film work or into high-level game production, that took me several years of hard work. It's not just didn't come by that easy at first.
So
And several years, by several years I mean not just several years of sitting and doing nothing. It's several years of hard labor.
yeah.
At least 12 hours a day work cycles.
Do you
All that.
think that now that you're in a comfortable position, do you feel like you've shifted focus in your life in a way? Do you know what I mean?
Depends on which front.
Okay.
I mean, I consider art as a essential part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with time, you learn how to. I mean, at a certain point of time, you figure out that there's more to life than just painting, and there's also family you want to take care of, and so you make your decisions more wisely, and you don't jump on every single project you get. You just look for those opportunities that are good. You feel that they are good for your personal development,
Mm-hmm.
and for those that actually improve your life quality in general, whether it's money or um,
Connections or whatever.
or connections, yeah, or even just like the area you're living in.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, doing something wrong here.
I just want to go ahead and talk a little bit about Level Up to people that are a little bit confused about the post that been putting up by some people. So basically, Level Up is not a promotional platform. It's more of a critique community that you can get, just good critique of your work, and you can actually improve. So please, if you see any work that is, I'm not saying too professional, but it's like it's not submitted to get a critique, please report it, and we will easily figure it out how to deal with that. So if you are in the group and you are seeing a lot of spam or junk or anything like that, just please report it, and it will be a lot easier for us to manage all these posts, because we have all these 15,000 people in this group. So basically, there's a lot of stuff happening in there. So if you will see anything like that, please report it, and it will be easier for us to figure it out.
Yeah, and when it comes to how you should post work, because I had some people messaging me like, hey, man, why was my work removed from the group, blah, blah, blah. So like Wojtek just said, Level Up is not a self-promotion platform, so it's not a place where you just go and share the work from your wall and share links to your portfolio website and this and that. There are many places that you can just freely share your work. We're trying to keep things educational and avoid people just doing art dumps, because it just becomes very hard to to run the group in the way that we think it should be run. So if you want to share your art, you can always share any type of art, but try to do it in a way that you can turn it into something educational. So for example, if you're a professional, it's fine to share your work as well. You don't have to be a newbie, but then share some, work in progress steps, or ask for feedback, or tell people how you work. Like, just turn it into something that people can learn from, because Level Up's about learning and sharing. It's not about egos and narcissism. So I hope that's sort of clear. And if your work gets removed, then you probably did something wrong. So, yeah.
There is a really cool question to you, Maciej. If you had one or two advices to give to your past self about art, what would it be? That's a hard one.
I don't know. It's a really hard one.
Yeah.
I'll definitely would make some different life decisions, especially work-related. I probably wouldn't get myself into specific projects that I went through and I regretted it. I maybe wouldn't stay at some companies for longer time than I used to. It's a really hard question because at the end of the day, everything I've done so far got me into a place I am right now. And if I would make different decisions, probably the outcome would be different as well. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have an interesting life or a successful life by only having success. You need to have pitfalls.
Exactly.
And have things where you screw up, because you tend to learn a lot more from screwing up than from succeeding. That's why I also tell a lot of artists like to get out of their comfort zone, just in terms of what they're painting and stuff, because you can get into a zone where you're just always painting the same misty mountains, and it's very easy to do, but you're not challenging yourself anymore, and you're not learning anything new, and you sort of you sort of become stuck in this rut where you don't realize that there's a difference between improving and just showing off what you can do. So.
Oh yeah, I mean that's true, and it brings me to a point where you have to fail so many times in order to actually improve. You're never gonna get anywhere if you're just succeeding, because at some point, every single failure, there is a lesson to be taken, and if you have no lessons to be taken, then how are you supposed to make a proper decisions?
Yeah, exactly.
If you know what I mean.
And yeah, we've been saying this for the last 4 weeks, I think. But when you run into these sort of problems, then it really comes down to personal choice of either giving up or pushing through and trying to analyze what went wrong and how you can get better. And this is where you will separate yourself from other people. And the people who are successful, they have had just as many troubles as everyone, but they've just pushed through. So.
Yeah, there's so many great artists that I know that went through quite a substantial amount of hardships, and they would never get to where they are if they wouldn't, because probably they wouldn't appreciate their achievements as much as they do after those failures, I would say, and they wouldn't learn the life lessons, and maybe their decisions would be skewed in that process. So
yeah, it's like
something
people,
to consider.
It's like people who grow up with rich parents. You see a lot that people who have money, from when they're small, they have just abundance of money. They don't really appreciate the things they have in life. And people who work hard for something, they tend to appreciate things a lot more. So there's a sort of beauty to working for something and achieving it rather than having it thrown right into your lap. Because life is really more about a journey than the end result. Because what's the end result of life? Well, it's death, basically. So all you're actually experiencing is the journey, and this sort of transposes to a lot of smaller things within your life as well, where you need to, work hard for something in order to appreciate what you have afterwards.
Yep.
There's another
That's about
cool
right.
question from John Silva. Did you had support from family, friends when you decided to start doing art?
Not at first.
Always like that. It was a tough decision, right?
It's usually that you'll start getting support when they start seeing that you're having success with it. When it comes to my family, I think it's more about, well, my parents weren't supportive in the beginning, but that comes to a point where they're just, I think they look at the economy and they just maybe don't know better, and they figured out maybe this is not the way you could, support yourself and your family later on. On the other hand, like once they see you actually, making a success out of it, then they'll start supporting you. At least that was my experience. When it comes to my wife, she was always very supportive to pretty much every decision I was making in regards to work, and that's something that is pretty much invaluable, because
that's true.
Sometimes you're like, that making this one decision might, make or break your life, really. You might end up losing a lot of money and nerves and fucking everything. Maybe not as harsh in those terms, like unless you're making really radical decisions, but when you have bills to pay and family to feed, you're making your decisions more consciously. And throughout my professional life, there were many decisions that you would consider as reckless. And I don't want to go into details which of them were like that, but I've put my neck. I put my neck out there quite a few times because I knew that the end game is worth it, and if I'm gonna work hard enough, I'll eventually get there. So, and it was worth it in the end. But
it's like a leap.
Yeah, it's
basically.
Yeah, you have to sometimes take a leap of faith, and you just have to be sure about your end goal, because if you're not, then you're making a lot of risk for no benefit. But
exactly.
But yeah, like my wife was really supportive all the time, so, and my family eventually as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's super important to have at least one person that is really close to you that believes in the stuff, that in the decisions you are making. I also have that kind of a person. It really makes me more comfortable to make those kind of decisions, and because the thing we are doing is not popular. This is something a little bit different. It's weird even to like explain some of my friends what exactly I'm doing when I say I work for games and animation and stuff like that. It's hard to understand that I work from home and that I'm not fucking around, really. So it's an actual work that you have to really run by yourself for such a long time before you actually succeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with people or loved ones who don't really believe that what you're doing is right, it's usually not because of bad intention. It's more of an ignorance kind of thing, because a lot of people still have this sort of preconceived idea that an artist has to be a starving person, and there's a big difference between being, a fine artist who's out on the street painting portraits of people and someone who works in the industry that we do. We're working in a very commercial industry, actually, and a lot of people just don't realize that there is a lot of money and there are a lot of jobs involved with it. So it's basically just for you to prove to them and to show to them that you can be an artist. Definitely for a lot of people, like some people have messaged me like, oh, I really want to do this, but there's just no way of convincing my parents. Well, you're gonna have to, because they probably just don't know that it's possible. When you tell them that you want to be an artist, they just see that sort of classic idea that we have about artists, the starving artists, but it's not like that at all. It's completely different these days.
Yeah, I feel like
it's also that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, continue.
No, go ahead, man.
No, just continue.
No. Guests first, Maciej, you first.
I lost my thought.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, that's such a cheap trick, man. That's like, no, I'll pay it.
No, I really did.
I just
I
feel
really
like
did. I'm sorry.
maybe the award artist isn't accurate enough for what we are doing. I mean, yes, we are creative personalities that have to do things that are perceived by people as art, but I think the more accurate word for that is craftsman or draftsman. Like it's more of a draftsmanship that you have to cultivate on daily basis, and it's not like painting a square, black square on a white square, right? Which is art nowadays. Yeah, so I feel like it may be just misleading from the terms.
Yeah, but try explaining craftsman to a person rather than concept artist is going to be even harder.
Exactly.
Like, what do you call yourself? I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I find, because sometimes when I meet new people, they ask me what I do, and it's always hard to explain, and I always run into the same problem. So usually what I do now is just like, I'm not going to explain to you, I'm just going to show it to you. So I just show them some work, and then they usually understand a lot quicker than if I try to explain it to them.
Yeah, that's
well,
what
even if you're in a spot where you're stuck, where you have to kind of like you have such a situation that you have to do whatever you have to do, there's always time you can find to work on the art skills and then eventually turn the tide and get your way of life. But it's absolutely doable. When I was starting in the industry, I was still in college, and I was supposed to be an electrician, and I never thought about earning a living with art. It was just my hobby, and I found that it's just I just want to do awesome shit, awesome looking shit, and that's what was pushing me to get to where I'm right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's have a look at the question.
But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy when you come back from college. You have exams ahead, and instead of learning for those, you're actually putting time to art.
Yeah, there's a question here, but I think you just sort of answered it, because there's someone asking, I'm a second-year architecture student. Do you guys come across a good amount of people in the industry who started as an architect or any other, craft originally, but ended up doing any kind of digital artwork? I would definitely say yes. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and also architecture it's a good starting point, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing architecture will help you to get good designs, really. designs are about function, and more about function than rendering. That's something that a lot of people still don't understand, and that's probably also something that a lot of people will understand with time. It just takes time to understand design, unless you're lucky enough to go to the design schools and have someone to guide you through designing process and thoughts and telling you what to do in order to get your designs nicely. It's just it's just way harder, and it just comes with time.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were.
But yeah, there's a lot of artists there. Yeah, continue.
It's what we were previously talking about, is that being a good painter doesn't make you a good concept artist, because there's more to it than painting. Like, in my personal experience working in film, I've seen some concept art like, oh my god, you would look at it and you'd say, like, that looks gross. But the designs are actually good, but the execution is poor. And that's not because the person is a bad artist. It's just because the person is completely and only focusing on design and not about sexy rendering or, nice presentation and nice lighting and all these kind of tricks that we use to make an image appealing. And if you look at some of the designs, you might think like, wow, that's not a very good-looking drawing. But then you see the final product in the film, and the design just works. It works in the whole thing as a whole, even though the artwork might have been a little bit underwhelming. And that's because those people are actually they're good designers rather than. I'm not saying that they're not good painters, but they're focusing on the design and they're putting their time into that. And it's a lot of newbies would make the mistake that they always want to impress everyone by making everything super shiny and fancy, and they might ignore good design. And no matter how nicely you render something out, a poor design is always going to look poor in every kind of rendering or lighting or whatever.
Yep.
I just got a message from Darek that he's going to join us very soon. So, yeah.
Yay.
He's probably changing his pants right now.
Diapers.
On the airport or something. Okay, Maciej, what equipment are you using for work at your place?
I just recently upgraded with the PC. Just generally a Cintiq, second screen for all the other stuff like references, videos I'm watching or podcasts or whatnot, and that's pretty much it. Just decent rig that will help you to run everything smoothly.
Yep.
I would say a lot of RAM, especially for Photoshop.
Yeah, that's true. So how much RAM do you have right now?
120.
Like 32 gigs?
64.
Jesus.
64. And like 64 cores on your processor? Or
it's actually 40.
So, okay.
No, it's not 40. It's 20 cores, 40 threads.
Yeah, 40 threads for your Modo work, right?
For 3D in general. I'm actually spending more time with 3ds Max recently than Modo. Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for the day where Modo will be more stable for larger files, and I hope that the new version will. But and also. I started using more of proper rendering engines such as V-Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of like trying to figure out new ways of using my computer and new ways of workflow and see what's good. We could go on with this one, by the way. What I would probably do is just start cleaning it up, but I don't know. You guys wanted to show some overpaints or whatnot?
If you want to critique someone's work, that would obviously be great. I think people would really.
Yeah, sure.
That.
We could do that as well.
Yeah.
And Maciej, if you can save the file for that, so we could later upload it to the events page for people to see it in full res. By the way, it's looking really awesome. I love the reds you introduced. They're really, really juicy, and yeah, it has an alien feel to it, definitely.
I'll probably make something like this here as well. Just a second moon.
Nice. Tatooine style, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, dude. Star Wars is hot these days, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice pun. People don't know what we're talking about. Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the demo. It was really informative.
I'm just gonna save it here.
Jonas, can you pick the work that Maciej can use for the Overpaint?
I have to pick it. Okay. I think maybe Maciej can pick it himself. So I will just get to the level up group, and you can.
No, guys, you pick it. You pick it. I don't want to have responsibility. Such a responsibility is not good.
Okay. All right. Okay, Brandon, I think it's your lucky day. So I'm going to copy the image URL and send it over. And I've sent you a link, Maciej, so you can maybe just have a look, and I will, in the meantime, just share my screen to just talk a little bit about a quick overpainting that I did. So this is a work by Shahab Rahman, and I think it's pretty cool. It's a little bit abstract in terms of content. Let me just zoom out. So it's got like a rock with water and a tree on it with some birds, and then it's got these sort of very Miyazaki-looking giants in the background, very foggy, which is kind of cool. I didn't really get to finish it completely because I was actually, sort of mucking around and watching Maciej. But there's a few things that bugged me that I think I can point out where you can maybe improve. So the overpaint that I did is this. So I've mainly focused on this area. And so the first thing is that if you want to sell water, you need to add reflections, obviously, because water reflects. So I've painted a rock in, and I've painted in some reflections. And I just use I use my own brushes. I have like two from some other people's brush sets, and I have made my own water brush as well. And it's just basically a horizontal line that sort of scatters. You can make it very easily from just a regular round brush, and just flatten it and play with the scattering and stuff. And it works quite well. Hey, man.
Yeah, hey, Maciej. Finally.
Hey.
Hey, Darek.
Yeah.
Hey,
I just
dude.
came back from Holland. My flight was a bit faster, so I'm a bit earlier than I thought. So, yeah, I have to make up for it and make some overpaint. But for now, I have to check what you did, man. Because I just waited for you,
I love how you just jumped in right in the middle of my explanation, just like last week.
Sorry, man. Go ahead. I just had to...
No. It's all right. It's all right. No worries, man. No worries. But yeah, good to have you here. I'll just finish up my talk quickly, and then
Okay.
Yeah. So
I rather listen to Derek's flight experience than you talking.
damn it, I knew it. Understandable.
It
Understandable.
was quite smooth, but I prefer to be on the ground, you know. All right, go ahead, Jonas. Go ahead.
No. Let's just skip my talk and let's just talk with Darek.
Yeah, I have to put
sorry for
myself
that.
I have to put myself together because I just came into my home, so yeah. I bit a bit rash, and I wanted to tell to the pilot to be faster, but you know. But I don't have that power, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so guys, Darek just spent 2 weeks in the Netherlands having fun. We saw some awesome pictures of him on Facebook.
Yeah, but I also managed to invite one very special guest for maybe for July. It was very cool. That's something different that we did so far. So yeah, but I don't really want to interrupt you guys. So let's have a talk, and I will prepare my tablet and all this stuff because I'm just shitty.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man.
Sorry, I was trying to drink some water in here.
It was water. Are you sure?
Yeah, it may be something else.
All right.
You're drinking tea, man, Darek. I can see it. Don't try to pretend it's something else.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so sorry guys, I will finish my talk quickly. I know it's boring, but this is my obligation. So where was I? Scale. I just wanted to point out quickly for the artists that this tree, it's almost impossible for these birds to have such different scale on a single tree, because that would mean the branches are very far apart unless the birds have different sizes. So try to look at your scale to make sure that that's correct. And also here, the way that the tree integrates with the rock is a little bit weird, so I kind of painted it differently so that it actually looks like the tree is on top of the rock. And then like tree shapes, something very hard. I have a lot of trouble with painting tree shapes because trees tend to grow in a certain way, and it's very easy to paint it wrong. I don't know why, but you can just see when a tree branch is growing or looks wrong, like the way that I did. It doesn't look right. So you need to look at real trees and see how they grow. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this painting. So I will shut up now and switch the screen to Maciej, who's got a work up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at that painting. So first, just a couple of things. First is just there's a lot going on here. I can't necessarily find where's the focus of work. Probably this area. This is where my eye is leading mostly, but there's just so much scattered detail and light and everything that it's really hard for me to focus and figure out what are we talking about here. Couple of major mistakes right away is that the light direction is inconsistent. I can see that the light direction is somewhat from the west side or left, but you get those light splotches here, which is, I assume, could be either a bounce light or light scattering through objects, which I feel like don't make too much sense in this painting. Especially that we were not having too many reflective surfaces. Maybe some of the windows would eventually bounce the light in a way that you have those scattered highlights here, but I wouldn't go as far as working with the bounce light that much. In the first place, I would make sure that the general light direction is correct. This building here doesn't have almost any light direction. It looks like it's overcast scenario. Likewise, the building in the back. The only buildings or areas that are telling me where the light is coming from is is this part and the floor and some of that here, which again I feel like it would be in shadows. Another major mistake is I understand that you were trying to do some kind of God rays coming through those tarp holes or whatever, but it looks like actually right now it looks like it's a lamp, and we want to just get rid of that in the first place because that's just distracting and it's not looking good at all. Sorry?
Goodbye, sunbeams.
Yeah.
Dark is a sunbeam sucker.
So even if you would want to keep the shape here, and so first thing I would do is I would get rid of those highlights here, and I'll just paint it out quickly.
Yeah, I think Brandon has ignored his values a lot. I think he's not really thought about what value something should have, and he's been trying to light everything really nicely, but adding too many highlights or too much, magic light can actually destroy your image as well. You need to have a clear focus of what you're doing when you do it.
Also, when you're having a painting where there's a lot of detail everywhere, it's always a good idea to have some areas of the painting where you know there's not that much going on, so negative spaces. So what I would do is I would just keep the sky clear, and I would get rid of all those birds and
I love that he's put the Belgian flag up there. I really appreciate that, Brandon. Like those cloths, black, yellow, and then red. Thanks for supporting.
we can put some of those ropes here, but I wouldn't go as far as putting that many. Let's have just some clear area here. Also, a dust. Something to think about where the dust is coming from. It's coming from the ground mostly, unless the buildings are really dirty. So I would get rid of the dust here as well, and just keep it fairly clean.
So right now we are not really talking about technical inabilities, but really the knowledge of how stuff work, right? So how exactly dust behaves. Is it high? Is it in that kind of a city? How
Yeah,
is
there's
this
something. This is something you kind of have to think about. Like, if your goal is to have a realistic painting, then everything counts. Even small things like the freaking dust. What I'm trying to do is just to put some directionality here.
I think people underestimate sometimes how good our eye is in recognizing how the real world works, because we see it every day, and we always understand when something's wrong or something's right. Even like the small highlights or something, or the angle at which light is hitting something, can throw it off if you don't think about it. If you just do it randomly, you need to actually sometimes just stop and think about, does this make sense? What I'm doing right here, like, how would it look in the real world?
So when it comes to the photo bash, Maciej, I already saw that years back you made a lot of normal brush sketches. Maybe this question was earlier, but do you do this still, or start with doodling around with the photos and then the idea comes naturally to you?
It depends on the project, really. There are some projects where I kind of have to still use some painting. There are projects where it just doesn't make any sense, and there's more and more projects where I actually don't do that much 2D work anymore, but rather use 3D instead. Matter of fact, the actually first project I successfully used 3D in production was like in a larger extent was Jupiter Ascending.
So you've made models or used the existing ones and paint over them, or?
Well, I was what I was doing is I was making like a rough 3D representation of what I want to have in the scene, and then based my later painting on that. But no, so I wasn't like going full on modeling yet on that project yet.
Are you still receiving some 3D assets to paint over from other modelers, or if you work on the project?
So recently, for example, there's one film I'm working on. I'm actually wrapping it up. It's called Gods of Egypt. It's with Alex Proyas, and on that project, I'm actually getting a lot of 3D assets from the production, and I'm using them to create my paintings, and also I do a lot of 3D work for that as well. So I would create like fully 3D environments and render them out with materials and textures, and then overpaint slightly and put like extra characters and whatnot. Something that would take way too long in 3D.
Yeah.
I finish in 2D, but just the render with materials and texture alone allows me to work more efficiently on that project, because already in many occasions we were taking different angles of the same shot. So if I was working the environment and then had the camera that was sort of like an overview camera, for example, and then I was asked to create 2 or 3 different keyframes that would represent more of what the story is about, then it was really easy to jump in, just press render from a different camera angle, and then overpaint that stuff pretty quickly, instead of starting from scratch, or even if I was having even if I was having well lit 3D environment but without materials and textures, it would take me extra time to put those textures in back, especially when we would nail down some specific areas that we liked. Then I would have to go extra mile to make sure that all those areas match, and while having textures and everything in place, I didn't have to worry about it that much.
I will switch the topic a little bit to books. Do you have any favorite like art books or books that really helped you along the way? I saw the podcast you were doing. I heard the podcast you were doing with Ash, and you recommended some of those. Can you find any useful books that you can recommend for people?
Oh damn, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Let me go.
So I will just direct people to the...
No, wait. there's few that oh, definitely visual story. Yeah, that book, Bruce Block. I highly recommend that one. It's not really an art book.
Nice. Okay, I haven't seen this book.
Scott Robertson released some art books that I highly recommend as well. Sign. Let me just check. What was his latest? There was this
How to Draw.
How to Draw. Yeah. How
It's
to Draw.
Yeah, I think we've recommended it a couple of times.
It's a Bible for.
Then some of the
that
known
doesn't know.
DVDs. Where's this book? I highly recommend, especially for character designers, or just in general. It's Alexander McQueen, Savage Beauty.
Okay, awesome.
And yeah, that book is freaking amazing. But visual story, that's the one I'm using the most. That's what I've learned the most from. It's not really art book. It's more, it's designed more for filmmakers or digital media, and they're talking about the way the book is. How to explain it? What they're talking about is all those things that matter in film, all the cues such as contrast, the line,
Composition, right?
the camera angles, and all that composition. It has the cue. It's explaining the cues that the good filmmakers are using in order to build up emotions on the screen and build up the tension on the screen. And it comes down to simple things like the line or the shape. For instance, if you have a lot of horizontal lines or round shapes, that would mean you're building up positive, calm emotions, for example, and the more angular or vertical lines you're going to introduce, the more action is going to happen on the screen. And it really works. And I started using that thought process in my paintings as well. So whenever I want to do some dynamic composition, I'll use a lot of vertical, angular shapes.
So it also
and try to avoid round. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it also learn you how to make the pictures, like how storytelling works and how to make the better story on the picture by using visual, right?
Yeah.
Things?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, and I think it can actually exceed just the realm of storytelling. It's a lot broader than that. I think definitely when you're designing stuff for like film. For example, I was doing some work on Guardians of the Galaxy recently, and I've never read the comic or anything. But when I was being briefed, they were telling me about the background, and it's amazing like how you can actually show a lot on sort of a subtext level. What kind of, let's say that you have a building, what kind of organization runs the building, if it's a police force, maybe you want to use like symmetry because symmetry means authority. If it's maybe something that's like a rogue, sort of resistance group or something, you want to use asymmetry because the asymmetry means chaos. So like there's all these very subtle things that you can put in shape and design language that tell you a lot about the background of what you're designing. And I think it's very interesting to think about that when you're doing something, if you're sort of stuck with how you should portray it. Oh, sorry, someone's bugging me here. Stop bugging me. I'm talking. I'm live. Okay, I lost my train of thought.
Later, bro, later.
500 people watching right now. It's perfectly okay.
Yes. There goes all credibility.
Being professional live is our specialty, right?
Well, it's more important to come across as if you're professional, even if you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's what it comes down to. If you're a good businessman, you just got a big mouth. You can be full of shit. If you know how to polish that shit and make it look, you know, a nice shiny turd or diamond, then you're good to go.
Yeah, politics. So Maciej, you just cleaned up the whole composition. You get rid of the contrasts.
I'm trying to
You're
kind of like
basically cleaning it up.
figure out what's wrong with this picture here, and I'm trying to address the most obvious issues. There's quite a few, but it would take a longer amount of time to address them all. So I'm trying to kind of look at the ones that are sticking out the most. And it's basically the light direction and amount of details introduced, and a lot of like those small little things that are everywhere and not necessarily adding to what you want to do. The more you're gonna be painting, and the more experience you're gonna get with your work, the more you realize that it's not the amount of details that matter, but rather keeping things fairly simple in the first place, and then adding details where they matter, where they are important. And rule of thumb is just, make sure that your area of focus is really detailed, and just don't put equal amount of noise or equal amount of frequency across the entire image, because you will end up with something that is really hard to read, and it's not helping you to get the good composition out.
Yeah, and so like for example, like in a lot of times in game or movie concept art, the client is going to ask you to get stuff really photoreal, which means you might have to put photo detail everywhere, but that doesn't mean that you can't have areas of rest. For example, what Maciej's done is cleared up the sky, which can look very realistic, but by clearing it up, you're actually putting an area of rest. Even though it can be a photographic sky, just having a simplified surface is another way of without having to resort to like weird brush strokes or blurry brush strokes or anything like that. You can do it just as well in a photoreal kind of environment. Just put like a big empty wall instead of a wall full of windows and ornaments and stuff. It's another way of approaching it.
Question to both of you, Jonas and Maciej. Any experience or tinkering with Mari?
No, actually, I've thought about getting into it because we're doing some new stuff with CG textures. But no, I have no experience with Mari actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I want to though. It feels like a natural progression. Started fiddling around with ZBrush recently, paying more attention to 3D in general, and it feels like that getting Mari on board is a good idea, especially when working on characters or sort of, let's call it hero objects, where you have like important parts of architecture, or maybe a vehicle or a gun or whatever.
Yeah.
The good advantage of Mari is pretty easy to learn. It's complicated. It's complicated and easy in the same at the same time. But what it gives you the a lot of tools at the disposal, and something called PTEX, which is technology that allows you to paint on the object without UVs. It's actually creating this sort of mosaic kind of looking UVs, which don't make real sense when you look at them as a flat image, but they kind of like get projected on the surface of your model. I might be butchering the real meaning of that word, but it's really what I feel like what it is, and I've seen a lot of amazing work done in Mari. But again, there are other softwares that could be used at the same time and are quite much easier. Say Mudbox is a good example.
Yeah.
It's using PTEX as well, and it's actually the UI wise and the learning curve for texturing alone is amazingly simple. So yeah, that's another thing to look into when talking about texturing software.
Cool. Darek, are you going to do any overpaint today, or are you?
Yeah, I'm just starting.
Okay, cool. Because we have about 20 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll save this out and send it to you. But you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of cleaning it up and
simplifying shapes.
Just getting rid of To be blunt about this image, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but if I would have to fix this image, I would probably start from scratch, because there's just so many things that I would have to go and overpaint. I feel like I would be more successful with maybe using the same concept, maybe similar composition, but changing, slightly tweaking camera angles and approaching some of the architectural details differently.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Make sure to save the file, and we will get it online after the session.
Yeah.
So Darek, can you maybe share your screen and talk a little bit about what you are doing, if you want, or we can just chat a little bit and then switch to your screen after we are
You
done.
know what? I'm just choosing the one, but I already did yesterday the overpaint, so I can point out a few things.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Of course.
But I have to find the file, so give me a few seconds.
Everyone's looking at your face, though.
Oh, so share the screen to anyone else.
Nope, man, it's luck to yours.
No, now it's on Wojtek.
Alright.
I love this is the
I'm
first
in a
time
dark
that I'm
cave right now, so you probably won't see anything.
Okay.
I'm in Poland. It's dark out here.
Oh man, that was the
What the hell
perfect.
is that?
So perfect. Some dodgy ambulance passing by.
They're coming for you. They're fucking coming for you.
Why did I come back to Poland?
Okay, let me look at the. Let me just have a look at the. See if there's any more questions for Maciej.
Happy, sir. Oh yeah, good sir.
A lot of people are asking for resources. Guys, if you stay tuned for the Level Up website, which is going to be launched very soon, we will put all the reference that we know of. We're going to put everything in one place, so
Yeah.
have a bit more patience.
Okay, so I have linked all the books Maciej mentioned to the Level Up event. So if you will go there, you will find links. I have also put the Vimeo movie there, which is about Leonardo da Vinci and
Cool.
being a loser. So it's really awesome. You should check it out.
Alright.
Okay, so the screen is on you, Darek, so you can
All right.
talk. No Game of Thrones spoilers, though. No spoilers, man.
No, this is just a portrait of area.
Okay.
And I already saw that someone posted a very cool progress of his works yesterday on Level Up group. And I picked up that face because maybe I'm not, specialist in portraits like Wojtek, but I already
I'm
had...
not specialist in portrait. Actually,
You are, man.
Fuck you,
Okay,
I'm
so
not.
I just had to do some more of the portraits lately because of the work, so I think that I would make some overpaints of it. And what just first struck my eyes was the solids of, for example, hair are not even shaded like the face is. So it's like putting the light and the shadows on overall the picture, because if there are some some parts of they are not very well set in the shadow and light, it's already bumped up and you can see it's like an artificial, or it doesn't suit the scene. So I put the same reference that someone used and made my overpaint over the same work, and just simplify some things like the shapes that were already simplified, but they look like a roof a bit. So I made them, just with huge strokes of the brush, with huge brush strokes. And what really struck me most was the hair solid, which something looked like like a clay put on the head without any any shading effects and lighting. So what I would like to point out about the drawing hair is, if you wanna put some detail on her, do the little single strokes only when the light is hitting the edges of the hair. But on this one, it looks like it was photo texture a bit, and after it was overpainted, but with huge roundy brushes, and it doesn't fit the lighting. The same with eyeballs; they are not shaded; they are just white space in the skull. But the real thing is the eyes are always shaded somehow with with the skull bones and with the structure of the head. The structure of the head weren't here, because if you can see on the reference of or mine overpaint, the head is just very outlined. Here it was like the face is very detailed, and it's like pasted into some roof sketch without any define, with no define skull. So I made it quick corrections over it and paint in my style a bit. So it's like the same picture, but the most things are the correction. There are corrections with the shapes and the edges, with how the real skull is built, and I made also some tweaks like probably you saw not once, like Wojtek did with liquify filter, to make the face a bit more resemble to the original character. And also the light is blended on the highlights with just regular clothes that she's wearing. But this one is on the first painting, it was like just putting randomly some strokes with light brown on the black black canvas or so. So I just made the corrections with just putting the right shapes and the right proportions, and after that I overpainted it to set the light and the shadow like it is on the reference, because if some parts are already very well defined and the other ones are very loosey, they need to be shaded too, because it's already bumped up like an artificial thing. So that's my point about it.
Awesome, man. Awesome
Okay,
work.
thanks, man.
Really good points. especially
Yes.
about the anatomy structure of the face and stuff like that, which was a little bit missing and out of place. Yeah, awesome job. So you are like an overpainting machine. We have been collecting all the overpaints and sorting them out into the folders, and you did like almost all of them, like 40 or 50, which was crazy. And yeah, you even managed to do an overpaint on the session that you weren't able to attend.
Yeah, I didn't manage to do it on plane, but but before the plane.
Yeah,
so glad you like it.
Maciej, there is another question to you, which I find really interesting because it's not really about art. It's about the things you do when you are not painting. So, how do you balance out your life if you have that much work?
There's a lot of things I try to do, and I try to be consistent about. One of those that I started quite recently, after having I don't remember how many talks with Ash, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I used to work out regularly before. Now I'm switching more towards Jiu-Jitsu thing, and it's just not only is just a good sport and workout routine, so keeping myself healthy and generally good, but it's also like I feel like it's a great supplement for art itself. It has the same principles as art, or same principles to art that I believe into, which is hard work with a lot of failures and learning curve, and learning a lot of things slowly, failing a lot until you actually succeed. It's a great ego crusher because there's a lot of people that start jiu-jitsu. What they don't understand is that if you have a huge ego and you're not gonna tap when someone is submitting you, you're gonna get real fucking hurt. You might get your shoulder dislocated or arm broken, or everything can happen. And it's art of killing until you tap, really. So so that's one thing I'm doing. And I'm trying to balance.
Sounds like a good example of painting, trying to be killed.
Yeah. Just doing it, cautiously and treating it as a hobby, not really like a competitive sport. Because obviously I don't want to end up with broken arms and whatnot. But anyways, and just balancing that with time for family and friends, which is sometimes real hard. But I would say sport, generally just sport itself, whatever you're doing, whether it's biking or lifting, jiu-jitsu or any other fucking sport, it's always good doing it, because it's just not only you're keeping yourself more healthy, you're working towards your longevity, but also it just energizing you to have even more ideas for art, and more power to actually work later on. You might be physically exhausted, but your brain is more clear, and it's also something totally different from just sitting in front of a computer all the time
because that's the thing we are
thinking
doing all the time, right?
Yeah.
Sitting and stretching our brains all the time.
It's hard at times though, like especially when there's just a lot of things going on at the same time. When you have those extra projects you might have taken, and it might happen that the clients that you're working with will want some stuff for their own deadline at the same time, and it's real hard sometimes, and you have to take some compromises, but generally trying to balance that with some success and some failures, but always trying to balance the amount of work with the amount of time with family and sport.
Awesome. That seems like a good balance between all those, I think, really stressful tasks that you have to solve every day. I mean, you probably get used to that, but it's all really big projects that you have to tackle. And Jonas is also working on big projects, and I bet it's really stressful, is it?
Nah, man, you get drunk after work and you're all good. That's what all British people do. Like, literally, man, I leave work at 6 and all the pubs in central London are just packed. Everyone just goes out and gets completely wasted right after work. I mean, it's absolutely mental how people drink here in England. But yeah, I guess that's besides the point. But yeah, thanks, Maciej. That's actually very cool that you talk a little bit about that, because that's something that we don't cover that much. But I think it is very important to realize that there are things outside art that actually can influence your art. With me, it's more like stuff, and everyone has their own sort of thing that, you know. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, everything is sort of important in the end. It's a matter of finding something that fits you directly, and just making something that will make you more happy. And I wouldn't recommend, even if everyone is saying do this and do that because that's going to help you. If it's making you unhappy, then you might reconsider, because that's, you know, everyone is different. But definitely, yeah, even if you're a person that, like most of us, like a workaholic, where every single hour of a day you're either thinking about art or doing something art related, whether it's your personal work or professional work, it's always good to have something to jump off to, because eventually, no matter how hardcore you are about art, you might get you might just burn out at some point, and it's just good to have something to balance with whatever it is. It's just, you know, you balance with that one thing, and you just keep going. It's especially important when you have tough projects to work on, because the worst thing that could happen to you is you getting burned out in the middle of crunch time. That's just a disaster. So it's even if there's a lot of work and a lot of stress involved, find something that makes you happy and it's not art related, and just, you know, try to squeeze it in to your schedule as much as you can, because that would just be, you know, just gonna be more healthier for not only yourself but for your art as well.
Cool, man. Yeah, very nice. Before we round up, because we're almost finished, I would like to ask one more thing, and that is maybe if you could talk a little bit about your personal project, because we've seen a couple of really cool, you know, neon style, cyberpunky looking illustrations, and we're wondering what's up. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's something cooking, but it's going real slow.
Okay. Is that a secret?
I don't want to talk about it too much, because mainly because of the amount of work and things happening in my life. I had to put it on hold for a while, but it's still there in back of my head. I'm thinking about doing maybe a book or something like that, or maybe like a short graphic novel with it. We'll see. It's not a focus for me right now. There's certain things I'm taking care of that just distract me from working on that project. But yeah, it's on the shelf, but it's not forgotten, and hopefully sooner or later I'll have more work to show and eventually something to release. But awesome. Yeah, we'll see about that.
All right.
Yeah, cool. I love how the project is looking right now, and I hope you will finally get it done and published. It'd be awesome to have an art book of yours on the shelf, really.
No pressure. Yeah. No pressure.
Lots of pressure. You have my mark.
Yeah, and it was one point of time where I was putting a lot of pressure on myself with personal projects, and it never turned out to be anything good. I think in my professional work, there's enough pressure to deliver quality where I kind of have to power through and force myself to be on the top level of my skill set to deliver what they expect. And I just, for something that I'm doing just for myself, I don't want to, I don't want to make it full-time job or a job. So yeah, that's how I view it.
Awesome. So once again, thank you very much for your time today. It was really a pleasure to see your workflow, to see you in action in Photoshop, and we really appreciate those 2 hours as well as our 500, almost 500 viewers right now. So really big thank you from us, and yeah, we'll put the PSDs. I think the PSDs are just an images out there. And
yeah, I'll send you
a huge fan of yours. So. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Thanks,
I just wanted to say I'm a huge fan of yours. So yeah, thank you for coming by. And yeah. I guess see you guys next week. We will announce our next guest in a few hours, and yeah, as a big thanks to Maciej, just I don't know, pray for him. You don't have to go to Facebook to follow him because he's.
They're like so pending.
No.
Dude, I'm doing alright. I'm not in fucking distress, so no worries.
It's not for that. It's like.
Now he's gonna get scared, man.
But anyways,
it was super creepy.
Yeah, it was. Anyways, thanks for having me. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. So, and thanks for everyone for coming and spending time watching this bullshit. I hope someone out there will have any use of what happened over the last 2 hours.
Definitely, man. I can tell you firsthand that we get a lot of messages from people who are thanking us that we're doing these sessions. We have over 50 hours of content, and you're right, there's a lot of bullshit, but I think we sometimes underestimate the value that it has for people who just don't really know anything and want to get in there, and just the fact that they can communicate with artists who work on such big projects is amazing for them. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. See you guys next week.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.